Thank you so much for joining us once again. We are in Genesis chapter 13 and we're continuing where we left off yesterday. Our title is Lot Chose Sodom. To solve the conflict between herdsmen of Lot and those of Abraham, Abraham suggested that they separate. He said, "Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left." That's found in Genesis chapter 13 and verse 9. And here we see that sometimes for the sake of peace, we need to separate. We will have to be like Abraham, to put our preferences and opinions aside, humble ourselves, and let others make the choice. Abraham, intent upon peace and feeling pure and parental affection for his nephew, he permitted him to make the first choice. Verse 10. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou camest unto Zoar. Less noble than his uncle, Lot proceeded immediately to take advantage of the offer. In his mind, he surveyed the country as far as he knew it. He had noticed that the plain of the Jordan, called in ancient times the Kikar, today El Go, was well watered. Lot, a citizen of Mesopotamia, where rivers and canals imparted great fertility to the land, could not have failed to compare his former homeland with the mountainous and seemingly less fertile country to which he had come. Abram had induced him to come to Canaan, he reasoned, and accordingly should see to it that he was comfortably settled. Western Palestine does not possess any rivers worth the name. The only river of importance is the Jordan, and most of its tributaries flow from the east. With its source in the Anti-Lebanon mountains, the Jordan runs through what was once Lake Hule, or Hole, in Upper Galilee, some 7 feet above sea level. SDA Bible Commentary. Abram, having offered Lot the choice, he at once accepted it. Lot looked to the goodness of the land. Therefore he doubted not that in such a faithful soil he should certainly thrive. But what came of it? Those who in choosing relations, callings, dwellings, or settlements are guided and governed by the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, or the pride of life cannot expect God's presence or blessing. They are commonly disappointed even in that which they principally aim at. In all our choices, this principle should rule. That is best for us, which is best for our souls. Lot little considered the badness of the inhabitants. The men of Sodom were impudent, daring sinners. This was the iniquity of Sodom: pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness. Ezekiel 16 verse 49. God often gives great plenty to great sinners. It has often been the vexatious lot of good men to live among wicked neighbors, and it must be the more grievous if, as Lot here, they have brought it upon themselves by a wrong choice. Matthew Henry. The higher blessing of good society then was missing in the choice of Lot. It is probable he was a single man and then he parted from Abram, and therefore that he married a woman of Sodom. He has in that case fallen into the snare of matching, or at all events mingling with the ungodly. This was the damning sin of the antediluvians, Genesis 6:1 to 7. Sinners before the Lord exceedingly. Their country was as the garden of the Lord, but the beauty of the landscape and the superabundance of luxuries it afforded did not abate the sinful disposition of the inhabitants, did not stop the sinful disposition of the inhabitants. Their moral corruption only broke forth into greater vileness of lust and more daring defiance of heaven. They sinned exceedingly and before the Lord. Lot had fallen into the very vortex of vice and blasphemy. Adam Clark. Thank you so much for joining us as we were learning some few lessons we can get from Genesis chapter 13. To look and study the Bible, please remember to read Genesis chapter 14 for tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful time.